Welcome to episode 64 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. It's January 3rd, 1973. We're at Wembley. This is one of those football matches that only makes sense if you remember what football used to be allowed to do, before calendars became saturated, before clubs ensured players like fine art, and before the sport's biggest decisions were locked inside competitive brackets. Tonight's match is called the Common Market Match, or more grandly, part of Fanfare for Europe. Because just 2 days earlier, on January 1st, the United Kingdom had joined the European Economic Community, the EEC, and it didn't join alone. Ireland and Denmark entered with it. So someone has the bright idea. Let's mark the political moment with a symbolic football match. The three, the new entrants, the UK, Ireland, and Denmark, against the six, the founding EEC nations Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and West Germany. And what you get is a slightly bizarre, beautiful relic, a one-off international made of parts, not a national team, not a club team, a representative selection, football as a diplomatic handshake, staged under the Twin Towers of Wembley. Today on the pod, we'll do three things. Explain why this match existed and why two football 11s were asked to carry a political and supranational construct. Walk through the selections, who got picked, who didn't, and what representative really meant in practice. And then relive the match itself, because even as symbolism, it still produced a proper football story. But first, let's set the scene. Fanfare for Europe is essentially government-backed theatre, a week-long cultural festival designed to make EEC entry feel like a celebration rather than a spreadsheet. There are exhibitions, concerts, food festivals, and at the center of the public imagination, one thing Britain always understands, football at Wembley. And the selection concept is straightforward on paper. The three should represent the newcomers, the six should represent the established members. But then football reality takes over. Availability matters. Star power matters. Who can be released matters. And the final squads reveal what these games really were. Representative in idea, yet pragmatic in execution. For the three, the big names are unmistakable. Northern Ireland was represented by Tottenham's Pat Jennings in goal. England had the likes of Bobby Moore from West Ham at the back and Colin Bell of Manchester City in midfield. Bobby Charlton from Manchester United, 35 years old, long absent from England's national team, but still the gravitational centre of a Wembley occasion, he was wearing the captain's armband. Scotland contributes Peter Lorimer from Leeds United, yet Wales wasn't represented. Republic of Ireland, in truth, is thinly represented. Johnny Giles from Leeds United is the headline inclusion. Denmark provides the striker, Henning Jensen from Borussia Mönchengladbach, and a substitute, John Sten Olsen from FC Utrecht. For the six is even more star-studded and slightly surreal for a mid-season exhibition. Günther Netzer of Borussia Mönchengladbach was the captain. Franz Beckenbauer and Gerd Müller, both of Bayern München, are there. Johan Nesken from Ajax is there. Marius Tresor of Olympique Marseille is there. And Dino Sof from Juventus is on the bench, because Belgium is represented by Christian Piot from Standard Liège in goal. But even here, symbolism has limits. Luxembourg, one of the six, supplies no player. On the touchlines, you got a delicious World Cup echo. Alf Ramsey manages the three. He is still manager of England, with whom he won the World Cup in 1966. Helmut Schön manages the six, the man Ramsey beat at Wembley in 66. In 1972, Schön managed West Germany to a very convincing win in the European Championship, and 18 months after this match at Wembley, in July 1974, he'll win his own World Cup with West Germany. So the stadium has the shape of a diplomatic event, but the cast is pure football theatre. Now to the match. Wembley is not full. The attendance is 36,500. That number matters, because it hints at the mood, curious but not fevered. It's not tribal. It's not us versus them in a normal way. It's an audience watching football as an occasion. The first half is cagey, almost too friendly, but it still produces one moment that reminds you who you're watching. Netzer bends a free kick from distance, around the wall and off the post, a little flash of continental arrogance against the Wembley night. At halftime, the six rotate heavily. Soft comes on and Beckenbauer goes off, and the shape of the match shifts. Then, early in the second half, the story arrives. Bobby Charlton drifts down the left, not sprinting, not forcing it, just sliding into space the way great players do when the game is a fraction slower than their mind. He delivers a cross toward the near post. Henning Jensen meets it with a header that looks like he's lying down horizontally. It's an image for the ages. Goal. The three lead 1-0. And if you want symbolism, that's the symbolic goal. Denmark, one of the new entrants, scoring the opener in the match celebrating entry. The second goal is even more representative match in how it happens. A sequence of familiar names doing familiar things. A corner, recycled, headed down and finished from close range by Colin Stein of Coventry City. Scotland's contribution delivering the clincher. Final score, the 3-2, the 6-0. So what was this really? It's tempting to treat it as a novelty, a curiosity, a footnote, but it actually sits inside a long, now vanishing tradition. The era when football regularly assembled representative 11s to mark moments, raise money, or perform unity. Before television turned every match into content, these games were a kind of infrastructure. They were how football showcased itself. They were how associations signaled relationships. They were how the sport created a big event without needing a tournament bracket. Think of 1947, Great Britain versus rest of Europe 11 at Hampden Park, staged to raise funds and help a struggling FIFA after the war. Think of 1963, England versus rest of the world at Wembley for the FA's centenary, with FIFA selecting the opposition and the whole thing operating like football's version of a state ceremony. And then decades later, you see echoes. In 2007, Manchester United versus a Europe 11 in a UEFA celebration match marking major anniversaries tied to European integration and football history. The common market match belongs to that lineage. Football used as a shared language when politics wanted a softer face. But you can also feel why the tradition dies. Modern football doesn't have empty space. Players are assets. National teams have qualification windows. Clubs have preseason tours, commercial obligations, recovery plans, GPS data, and medical departments that would treat a symbolic friendly for political unity as a workplace hazard. And perhaps most importantly, representative matches have been replaced by competitive structure. Nations League, expanded qualifiers since the 1990s after the wall came down, more tournaments, more stakes. Football has less room for the charmingly pointless. So what do we take away from the 3 versus the 6? Well, 3 points. First, football has always been political, not because it preaches, but because it gathers people. If a government wants a symbol that feels real, it reaches for the sport the public already believes in. Second, representative selections reveal what the era valued. In theory, this was EEC symbolism. In practice, it was still star power, Charlton, Moore, Beckenbauer, Müller, Netzer, because the public doesn't turn up for treaties, they turn up for names. And third, this match is a postcard from a bygone football economy. The sport could afford to stage a one-off, slightly odd, half-series international at Wembley, and that world has largely gone. The calendar won. On this day in 1973, football tried to perform European unity with a ball, a mixed 11, and a Wembley stage. And for one night it largely worked, not as policy, but as a story. That's all for episode 64 of OTD, the 3 versus the 6, the common market match, and the fading art of the representative 11. If you remember these old occasion matches, the ones that feel impossible now, email me at otd@17lawsguy.com, and please rate the show 5 stars, subscribe, and tell a friend. Tomorrow in episode 65, we go to Spain, to January 4, 1909, and the creation of the national institution that would become Spanish football's governing spine, the Federation, and the politics of building a football nation. See you then.